Hello, true believers. Joe here with another narrated PBR battle. If you hadn't already figured that out by the fact that, you hear me talking as opposed to just hearing music. Anywho, my opponent is yet another creative Japanese player, which I feel quite privileged by the fact that I keep bumping into, these creative Japanese trainers all the time. I think it's probably largely because I often play in the afternoon, like British Standard Time, and I believe that's like, late evening sort of time in Japan. I could be wrong though. So obviously there's quite a lot of them online, whereas there's not so many Americans as it's, like morning time for a lot of them around this sort of time. But regardless, I start the battle with my trusty old Piloswine, whereas they start with a Sandslash. Their Sandslash has Attract, which I was really surprised by, considering it's a male Sandslash. Obviously, like competitively, when people tend to use Attract, it tends to be with a female Pokemon because, like competitive Pokemon is just filled to the brim with like male Pokemon generally. But this Sandslash was different, but I still managed to get my curse off anyway. I make a mistake here by deciding to use Ice Shard rather than Earthquake, because I forgot that Earthquake would actually do more damage than a super effective Ice Shard because of Stab. But they charge up a Focus Punch. I thankfully get my Ice Shard off, because Focus Punch probably would have KO'd Piloswine in one hit, considering how ridiculously powerful it is. But I thought this was like a really cool strategy, using Attract to hope that I wouldn't attack and then using Focus Punch. I knew my luck wouldn't, save me for another turn, so I decided to switch in Gallade this turn. He goes for another Focus Punch, but I was hoping Focus Punch wouldn't do that much to Gallade, because obviously it's not very effective, even though Gallade has low defense, and my Gallade is EV trained in, this Gallade is EV trained in HP, and it does a fair chunk, but around the sort of amount I was expecting, so it wasn't too bad generally. Gallade heals itself with its leftovers. I used Substitute, which was probably a bit foolish. I was kind of hoping he'd switch, but I guess it was kind of a good way to scout out what he was going to do. He decides to go with Earthquake, and that obviously easily KOs. Well, it doesn't really KO. It gets rid of my Substitute, and so by this stage I wasn't quite sure what to do. In retrospect, I probably should have switched out to Dragonite, because obviously it would have used Earthquake again, but I decided to go with Drain Punch. I was hoping I could do enough damage to restore my health back to a level where Earthquake wouldn't KO me, but thinking about it, probably would have KO'd me, because regardless with like very high HP, considering Gallade's low defense, and this Sandslash is clearly EV trained in attack. So Gallade goes down to my foolishness, which sucked, but I was adamant that I was going to save Piloswine in this match, because I figured it'd be useful. It can be like very, very useful. I mean, obviously a Mamoswine would probably work a lot better, but I love Piloswine. I think it's much cooler than the Mamoswine, but feel free to disagree with me. I use Ice Shard on her Sandslash, like, just in case, really. I was tempted to, use Earthquake just in case they made a switch, but it turns out they didn't want to. They sent in a Zangoose. I was expecting close combat, so I went straight to Dragonite, and that is exactly what I ended up getting. So close combat really didn't do a huge amount to my shiny Dragonite, one that I got in a trade. Actually, the Gallade, my shiny Gallade, I got in a trade as well. But I like this Dragonite just because, it was modest as well, so it's like, I can make a cool special set. Like, it's scarfed as well, as a bonus. They switch out their Zangoose, and it will become clear later on why they did that anyway. They send in a Plusle. I used Draco Meteor, just because I wasn't sure if anything else would have KO'd Zangoose had it stayed in. Their Plusle has a Focus Sash, unsurprisingly. My special attack drops significantly, but with my Scarf, I figure I'll just stay in and Draco Meteor, hoping that it would hit to take out Plusle. there's not much Plusle could have done to me, I would have thought, unless it had like hidden power ice. But that's not too common, and obviously they thought their Plusle would outspeed my Dragonite because they didn't realise it. They most likely didn't realise it was Choice Scarfed. As not too many Dragonites are. I decided to stay in anyway, just to do a little bit of damage to Zangoose before it KOs Dragonite. I didn't want to risk a switch in, but it turns out there Zangoose was actually Scarfed as well, which is why they switched out it earlier, because obviously it was locked into close combat. Dragonite goes down, but that means that Piloswine, you know, has got free reign of taking out that Zangoose, because it's very unlikely that, you know, Ice Punch will KO it. It's kind of bulky. Yeah, obviously uses Ice Punch this turn, doesn't really do a huge amount. And then I use Earthquake, and it goes down in one hit, which I was kind of surprised about, but then again it has really low defenses. But yeah, that was pretty much the entire battle, in that it was the entire battle, and that's how it ended. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a good battle, as I always like to say. I don't try to upload non-good battles, really. It's got to be interesting, otherwise what's the point in uploading it? But anyway guys, take care, and I'll see you next time.